Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Race with Cone. This week we're going to be in the Miata Cup car at Watkins Glen, the Cup course, which is the short course without the bus stop. I'm doing this because I felt like I needed to kind of get back into some bumper-to-bumper racing and work solely on my racecraft and try and get more comfortable in pack racing. So we're going to start off, as always, with a little bit of practice. And you can see the track's very familiar looking, but the car, not very familiar looking. Very drastic change. The first hurdle to get back to was normal gearbox. I haven't been using the clutch and the gearbox 8-shifter in a while, so it took me a good 5 or 10 minutes just to get used to that. And then the car is just, much more basic and low tech, so it doesn't have gobs of downforce, doesn't have gobs of grip. It certainly doesn't have gobs of power. I think I max it out 3 or 4 times around this track. You'll notice coming down the backstretch here that I'm using the whole backstretch, no chicane, no bust out, and no boot. So it's my favorite version of Watkins Glen. It's super high speed, very flowing turns that are not necessarily consecutive. So if you make a little mistake in one turn, you can correct it before you get to the next one. It's weird to be going backwards into a slower car, because I feel like right off the start here, I'm overdriving the car all the time because I have this boost in confidence in, I can drive a McLaren, I can drive a Mustang, I can drive this thing, and that ends up really kind of screwing up my times to begin with, which is great in the fact that I'm pushing right out of the box. I'm not trying to work myself up to a speed. I'm trying to scale myself back. And you'll see that in the way that in these laps that I'm showing here, I'm going off course. I'm going 4 tires in the runoff asphalt, which it's doable here. It's not going to ruin your lap, but you're probably not going to do any kind of decent lap time while you're doing that. So you hear it strung all the way out. In 5th gear here, it does have 6th gear. It doesn't do anything. It actually slows it down when you put it in 6th gear there. These cars are geared just as they are from the factory. They're basically factory cars, some slight modification. So this is the turn, as you remember from the last race we did in the McLaren. I still struggle with it in this car at this point. Alrighty, for this week's improvement breakdown, it's going to be a little different than last week in that this car has different areas of importance. Number 1 is turn 1 right here, getting the apex of this turn and not running wide out of here. I see cars every lap run wide out of here because you have that much room. I don't know, it gives you this false sense that you should be out there, and all it does is hurt your time. Alright, next up is going to be entering the carousel, and that is the turn I struggle with, I'd say the most overall throughout this race weekend. And it's important to get down into here entering high and apexing low and exiting high. So you're kind of diamonding that whole turn there, because I felt like in this car at least, entering low made it spin easily. And finally, we're going to focus on what would be turn 10 on the regular circuit. And what I'm doing here, and what I've found worked, is again getting real close to the curb, not on it, and on the gas as early as you can, because if you get on the gas just a hair too late, it actually makes the car upset and affects your run out of that turn. So all that together adds up to what is going to be the fastest lap I turn in practice.
1 minute 26.5.
And from here, I do practice a little bit longer, but I end up just kind of trying to get into a groove and stop doing that, running off into the runoff. And in about 20 minutes from this point, I'm going to go ahead and try and qualify. Alrighty, so here we are in qualifying, and this is 5 laps into qualifying. It's only a 20-minute session, as it seems to be in every series. I haven't gotten down to this point anywhere near where I need to be, overdriving the car. But this lap, I kind of made it point in my mind to back off a little bit more and try and just nail down a lap in the 126 range. Honestly, if this was a series I was running more frequently, I would definitely be practicing more than I did for this race, and it definitely showed in qualifying. The biggest factor, I think, in why I didn't qualify better than I did is that it turns out these cars are extremely drafty, and especially at this track. I went and looked at the overall qualifying times. I was really low for Division 3 and really low overall. There's a much broader range, obviously, in this series than in Grand Am or GT Challenge. You got more rookies and more pros, but just kind of run this for fun. So I was pretty disappointed with where I end up in this qualifying session. So here we go for my first completed, kind of phoned it in lap at 126.7. Still got quite a bit of time left in the session, and I was really convinced that I was going to be able to run, below 126. But then there's a multitude of errors I was making as I look back on it now, and they're similar to what I was saying earlier. This is pushing too hard to turn 1. You can see what I mean. Pushing way wide on the exit ruins your whole run up the backstretch. Here, coming down to the carousel, there's that weird entry I was talking about. I've adjusted the setup a bunch, put more brake bias to the front. For whatever reason, it's still really, the back end really wants to come around there. Here it is again, a little bit different. But you can see it's just right where I want to be making the apex of that turn. The back end comes around and it shoots it onto the curb, which makes it understeer and basically ruins a lap. So with just a few minutes left in the session, I give it another go. You can see there, up on the curb. It didn't really hurt me too much, but it's something you don't want to do. If you get more than 2 tires and just the 2 tires in that curb, it's probably going to ruin the lap. This car is so down on power that it's all about momentum, and just a little bit of over apexing a turn, binding it down, will just kill the momentum. So right here is where I needed to be drafting somebody to get a really good qualifying time, as I was mentioning earlier. I bet just drafting someone down that backstretch, you could gain half a second a lap. But for this lap, I'm on pace to run somewhere in the same bracket of where I had run. Certainly not going to set the world on fire. And this is the last lap I'll get. And I mess up in turn 10. Really bad. And that was it. That was all the time I had. So I'm gonna have to live with the times I laid down. And I'm expecting these races to have a pretty large field, so that could end up really biting me. But that does it for the practice and qualifying episode. Look forward to the race coming up. Seeing as how these are 25-minute races, you will probably see a lot more footage from the race, and I'm really hoping there's going to be a lot of door-to-door action and beating and banging, because That's typically what comes out of these slower classes of car. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.